The things that I'm going to share with you guys in this video are the things that I wish that my teenage self could have known back in the day, because it would have made my life a whole lot easier. I spent so much of my life stuck in survival mode and not being able to get things done because I just didn't know how to cope with my own emotions. That was the most important thing for me growing up, just focusing on getting through the day. So if I'd have known the things that I know now, I would be thriving right now. I would be living my best life. I'm sure of it. So I want to help you guys as much as possible, and I do not want you guys to be in the situation that I found myself in when it can be prevented. I'm going to share with you all the tips that have helped me deal with living in a toxic environment. Now, I'm sure if you've clicked on this video, you are familiar with what a toxic environment is, what a toxic family is, and what a toxic household feels like. It is not the one. It is not good at all. And if you don't act accordingly, if you don't act correctly and make the right moves, you can find yourself stuck in that same generational curse and stuck in the same cycles that your parents and the people in your family are stuck in. And that is not what you want. It's only really been the last year for me solidly that I have actually felt very content and very at peace, even though I still live in my family home. I still live in the same home that I grew up in, but I have found ways to manage it and deal with it, and I've discovered things that make my life a whole lot easier in the time between now and when I move out. First of all, before we get on with this video, I really want to just mention how devastated I am about Matthew Perry. I'm so sad. I've been so sad all week. Like, I've cried every single day. It has affected me on a level that I did not know it could ever affect me on. I don't know this man. Like, I genuinely don't know this man, but I feel like I know him just from his character on Friends. Like, I've not really seen him in any other movies other than 17 Again, but it really hit me hard, and it's hit me hard this week, and it still is now. Like, I know that later on when I go on Instagram and I see a post, I'm probably gonna start crying again. But that's kind of what inspired today's video, really. I wasn't planning on talking about this kind of thing, so it is a very vulnerable topic for me to talk about, and it's not something that I would usually talk about as such. But just in the sense that Friends has always been my comfort show since I was a child. It got me through the hardest times of my entire life. That is, even to this day, what I put on. If I can't sleep at night, I put Friends on and I fall asleep to Friends. I fall asleep to the soundtrack and just to hearing all of their voices, and it brings me so much comfort. And Chandler was always my favorite character. I loved him so much, and I'm just devastated. I'm genuinely so upset, and it's really kind of triggered my inner child and my inner teen, and I think that's why I felt the urge to want to film this video. So yeah, if I'm a bit all over the place in this video, it's probably because I'm talking from a very vulnerable place, and there are certain things where I feel like I might be oversharing, and I don't want to overshare, but I feel like it's necessary in points because I feel like it's going to help you guys to relate to me and know what I've been through. The first thing is that you need to preserve your energy. Your energy is sacred. It is so sacred, and you do not want to be wasting it on pointless exchanges and conflicts with people that are just so unnecessary and not warranted. If you're living in a toxic household, it is inevitable that your energy is going to be depleted naturally anyway. You can't help that. That is just the facts of the matter. That's what happens when you're living in an environment that doesn't feel safe and it doesn't feel comfortable for you. It doesn't feel like where you want to be. So that's normal for your energy to be naturally depleted a little bit. But the rest of your energy, you can control. And if you're spending that energy engaging in arguments and trying to prove your point and trying to show people that you're worthy and show people that you're lovable, it's just pointless, and it's going to drain your energy so much. And I learned this the hard way. I spent years convinced that I was going to change my family, convinced that I was going to be the one who showed them how to love and showed them how to love me and show them what's normal in other families. And to an extent, I do feel like I've kind of done that because my parents are a lot better now. Like, they're a lot more mellow, and I do think that's because they're grandparents now, and I've got a younger sibling as well, and I think that helps a lot. He gets away with murder, but I love him. But you've got to control what you can control, and you've got to play with the cards that you've been dealt. Once I realized this, it allowed me to stop playing the victim and to stop replaying the things that went wrong in my life over and over again, to the point where it just made me feel sick. It made me feel so miserable because I was constantly in this state of low vibration. I was so miserable all the time, and there's no wonder, because I was constantly reinforcing this narrative of being the victim. I was repeating it in my head constantly usually whenever anything went wrong, it was someone else's fault. It was because I've had a traumatic childhood or because people speak to me in a certain way. I never really took a look at myself and within and tried to heal myself. So where you can, use your energy wisely. Do not give in to the petty bullshit. You don't have time for it. And you don't have to do it in a way where it's like, I'm ignoring you, I'm above this is low vibrational, because trust me, I've been through that phase too. And it doesn't really work, because then they get angry at that because they feel like you think you're above them. So what I've learned to do is to just nod, just look like I'm listening, take it in what they're saying and be compassionate. Meet their anger with love and meet their anger with kindness. Once I started doing that, I noticed such a difference just in the way that I interact with them. And obviously this is my personal experience. I don't know if this would be applicable to everybody else's situation, but I do know that it will just make your life a whole lot more peaceful. If you're biting back and if you're being confrontational and if you're standing up for yourself and getting really confrontational with them and angry, you're just reinforcing what they think about you, and it's just going to give them more to hold against you. And you don't need that. Like, this is a temporary situation. You need to zoom out and look at the big picture, and just in those moments where you feel like you want to react, just practice not reacting. And it sounds so much easier said than done, but once you become aware of this and you start implementing this into your life, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier, and it will get easier and easier to be less reactive as time goes on. But please do not waste your energy in these pointless exchanges. Number 2, you need to work on your sense of self. You need to know who you are, and you need to be so strong in that. If you live in a toxic family or a toxic household, it's very likely that people in your family are going to try and tell you who you are. They're going to try and tell you that you're a bad person. They're going to try and tell you that you're the problem. And in situations like this, it's so important to know yourself inside and out. And this means developing a self-love practice. Journaling, getting to know yourself on a deeper level, inner child healing, shadow work, spending your time doing things like that and really getting to know yourself is so important. Because if you don't have a strong sense of self, which I know that I didn't when I was a teenager, and I was so susceptible to what other people told me, and it made me so miserable, and it led me to the point where I just didn't know who I was. Other people are going to be able to tell you who you are and dictate the trajectory of your life and tell you where you're going in life, and that is not what you want. You are in control of your own life, and you need to know yourself better than anybody else, because when you know yourself better than anyone else, nobody can tell you anything. Nobody can tell you shit. You know yourself better than they do. So something that really helped me, and something that I actually did do when I was a teenager and into my early 20s, was journaling a lot, really offloading all of my emotions. I've done that since I was a child because I had no other way of regulating myself. No one would really speak to me. I was kind of just pushed to the side when I was being a bit too much. So my only option was to journal and to write about my thoughts. I always kept a diary, and I genuinely think that keeping a diary for all of these years, or a journal, has made me as self-aware as I am today and as insightful as I am today. I find that when it's too difficult to journal and you feel like you've literally not got the strength to pick up a pen, I like to just record myself. I go on my phone, I start a voice note, and I'll just record myself speaking and just talking until I feel better. And you do feel so much better once you've gotten it off your chest. And once you've gotten it off your chest, you don't feel the need to carry that grudge with you around and that heaviness with you. It's just really helpful. It also helped me to think that I was the main character. That was my mindset. I would just pretend that I was the main character, and it made things a lot easier, because it was like, oh, so I'm the black sheep. I'm the underdog. This is quite cool. This is exciting. This is great for the plot. And I know that sounds delusional, but it is definitely something that helped me get through my childhood and teenagehood. Number 3, get creative with how you spend your free time. When I was a child and a teenager, I obviously was under the control of my parents, and I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things. So I had to get really creative with how I spent my time, and for me to not go insane. So I would be sent to my room after being told off, and I would be really emotional. I would want to speak to somebody. I'd want to just apologize profusely so that someone could speak to me, but no one would speak to me. So when I came up to my room, the only way that I could process those emotions was doing really unhealthy things. I would depend on food, eating junk food, eating whatever food I could get, really. I used to sneak downstairs and I would get like a plain tortilla wrap, and I would just shove it under my top, sneak upstairs, and then eat it. And then once I'd done with that, obviously obviously that wasn't enough, so I would sneak downstairs again and get another one. And that is something that in my adulthood, that's become a subconscious behavior. That's become a habit for me, and comfort eating has really been something that I use to soothe myself. And I've noticed recently that I've been more inclined to comfort eat, and it all stems back to childhood. It all stems back to those times, because that was all you knew to do. But if I could speak to my younger self, I would tell her, just spend your time doing things that make you happy and doing things that light you up, like colouring, drawing, writing. And I did used to do these things, but I just really wish that I honed in more on it. I really wish that I'd have really concentrated on learning something. You need small aspects of joy within your life to keep yourself going, essentially, and to stay sane. So for me, when I would feel like things were a bit heated, a bit intense in the house, I would go for a really, really long walk. Or when I actually finally got my driving license, I used to go for really, really long drives. I would drive like 40 minutes away, park up at a Starbucks, sit there, and then I would drive all the way back. But if you can't leave the house, you could read a book, you could watch YouTube videos, you could learn how to do something, learn how to do makeup, learn how to do winged eyeliner, learn how to braid your hair. That is something that I did when I was in school, when I was a teenager, and that has become such a flex. I never knew that that would become the flex that it has become, but everyone wants me to braid their hair now. And I remember how difficult it was when I first started learning, but because I had nothing else to do and I was learning how to braid my hair, I now know how to do that because I set those foundations early. The same with at-home workouts. Like, I wasn't allowed to go out to all the parties, so I would be at home on a Friday and Saturday night, even in the weekdays, and I would be spending my time doing at-home workouts. I used to do like little sit-up challenges and do like 50 sit-ups every single day, which I don't know how healthy that is, but it just kept me going. It kept my body moving. It kept me healthy and happy, and it got me through those times. And I do feel like they were things that were like anchors for me. And they were things as well that later on down the line I really benefit from. I feel like I really have a strong core naturally because of all the fucking sit-ups that I did when I was in school. And I used to do yoga. I built those foundations doing yoga when I was in that free time. Just little things like that, getting creative with how you spend your time and just finding little aspects of joy within your day. When I was younger, I used to daydream a lot. I used to have so many escapes. I used to write books. I would write a book and it was essentially me visualizing and writing out my dream life. It was called Rita and Rach, and it was based on Wild Child. I remember it being based on Wild Child because I was like, oh my god, wow, I want to live that life. I don't know why. But yeah, I would write books. I would make up scenarios and imagine being in the life that I wanted to be in, and it really did help me get through. Number 4, noise cancelling headphones. This is a very, very random one, but this has helped me so much. I can't deal with shouting. I really cannot deal with shouting. It really triggers me. I don't like it. And this more applies to me more in adulthood, living in my childhood home. When I hear shouting, it kind of activates like the freeze response in my nervous system, and I don't like it. So having some noise cancelling headphones has honestly changed the game for me, because when it's all kicking off downstairs, I can just put my wireless headphones on and listen to music. I can listen to binaural beats, whatever it is, and it completely takes me out of this world. It really, really helps to have wireless headphones. I don't even know how healthy any of this advice is, but this is what has helped me get through. And number 5, I think, is gratitude. Double down on gratitude, and this is gonna change your life. It sounds so pointless, it sounds so redundant, but when you really start doubling down on gratitude and every single day writing 3 things that you are truly grateful for, and not just generic things, it has to be things that you are really truly grateful for in that moment. It could be the nature outside, it could be the sun shining through your window, it could be your dog sleeping and looking all cute. It has to be something different each day and something specific. But once you start tapping into the things that you are grateful for, you are gonna see so much more in your life to be grateful for. And it genuinely works. It genuinely helps me so much. And when I fall off track of my gratitude practice, I notice that that's when I start to feel a little bit down and low vibrational. So gratitude is really, really important. Okay, my camera is gonna die. This was a really, really random video, but those were 5 tips. I think it was 5 tips that have really helped me living in a toxic household and living in a chaotic environment. And I really hope that these tips can help you if you're in a similar situation. I know that if I had these tips a lot sooner, I would be a lot further in life, but it is what it is. Your life happens how it happens for a reason, and I truly believe that. But I do want to share these things with you guys so that you can just avoid some of the hardships that I went through, because it's not always necessary. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing and supporting me, and I will speak to to you next week. Bye!